Good afternoon, David.
Afternoon, dude.
How are you today, mate?
I'm alright, I'm alright. So it wasn't alright the other day there, but what can I say? That's political passion for you.
David, you and I fight like fuck. You and I fight like fuck like half air on it, David. It doesn't happen no air very often, but it happens half air every fucking other day.
One year is a problem, and we've got to find a way of actually dealing with it because we can't agree to disagree in certain things, right? But we need.
That's right, David, but
Yeah,
sometimes
I know.
you just sometimes you get into it. That's it, isn't it?
Easy way for me was just go right, fuck it, click, and that was it.
Sometimes you just get into it and you just have to say, "I fucking need to take a break here."
Yeah, that's right.
You know, because it's not the first time you've hung your phone up me or the other way round. Fuck.
It's like, if you imagine what I did after I went off, it's like I'm diabetic. What did I do? I was that fucking angry. I went and ate a full pack.
Stuffed a chocolate bar out of your feet, did you? Twice on the naughty step, fuckhead.
Right. Anyway, so what we got to tell the numbers?
Right, our numbers were quite low.
Right.
Bit low, yeah. Maybe got a better audience because the weather's turned full.
We've got Facebook on.
Yes, Facebook's on. I'm just waiting the first one showing up in the comments. Now, we missed a couple of super chats this morning, folks, so if I missed your super chat, sorry. That goes to Graham, and that goes to Mad Monk, and anybody else that I missed. I do apologise. Reagan Weeks in the chat again, folks. Hi, Reagan. If you've got a live tonight, can you put the start time down so I don't miss it at work, Reagan, because I'm not getting notifications at the moment. So if you're going live tonight, mate.
There's Ginger's on.
Yep. Ginger's is hampered down in her bunker. She's a couple of Palestinian kids get arrested, returning to university in America.
Ginger's, if you didn't get a notification, then what to do is, after the show, I'll find a way of getting my email address to you, and I'll send you an email. I'll send you an email, so you never ever miss a notification.
Alternatively, Gingers, if the program, unsubscribe, resubscribe, re-hit the notification button. The bell.
That works. That works.
That works as well.
At the end of the day, just remember it's our time, 4 p.m. Monday and a Thursday. So what you've got to do is you've got to subtract 5 hours off that, I think.
Desiree's got 2 jumpers on today. She's feeling cold.
Yeah.
It's not that cold. Come on, it's 8 or 9 degrees. But it's a wee bit colder where Ginger's is. Hi, Ian. Nice to see you there, man. How's things? I hope you're keeping well, Ian.
You mean I am the music man?
He takes his wee things in it. He takes his music box on the marches with him.
Oh, that's good. Oh, yeah. The little it's a PA system, isn't it? Inside of what? It's battery controlled.
Aye, he drags that along with him.
Yeah. It's actually got a good wee system. Aye.
He's getting on a bit, so now he tows it along the back of his buggy.
Yeah.
Right, Anyway, David.
That reminds me, I'm going to have to get the PA system out and find some way to actually deal with it because, at the moment, it's been like 2 years. Right? It's just to announce, it's 1 year on Friday when I got my leg off.
Is it?
Big boy didn't run away, right?
One
year. 1 year. So...
I'll send you a cake or a can of your diabetic.
Bastard.
There you go. I've been practicing for years. As you're well aware.
Oh, dear.
Right, where are we? 17th to the 4th, 2025. Facebook's on board. We're almost at the 100 mark. Let's get this thing underway. First up this morning, David, the date for the Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehaven by-election has been announced. The by-election has been called after the passing of SNP MSP and Minister Christine McKelvey.
Christine.
As you know. Now, the SNP candidate to replace Christine is Councillor Cathy Loudon of Hamilton Council, or Hamilton Rutherglen Council, I think it is. And Labour have also announced their runner, and that's David Russell, who's been kicking about the branch office for a very, very long time. He's a placeman. He's also the best friend of somebody we're going to mention a wee bit further down into the article, but the date's been announced. I've had an email in asking me to join Cathy's team to canvass, but the way I've been ranting all the way with David, I don't think it'd be a good idea for me to be champing doors.
You don't want to be. I don't want to be champing doors, even if I could, and you don't want to be champing doors.
It's not I don't want, it's just that I'm a wee bit short-tempered at the moment. I'm not the right person for champing doors.
Okay, join the club.
So
I relate to that.
You know. So the date of the by-election will be the 5th of June 2025. So roughly 6 weeks out. And let's hope the SNP can retain it. Now, Cathy's message to the constituents of Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehaven is, let's send a message to Westminster. That's her message to the constituents. All right. Now, there's something else we have to discuss, David. That's the annual outlier. When it comes to independence polls.
Just before we get into that, Nathan's mentioned about the UK Supreme Court ruling. We're going to discuss that later on. So just to keep your ears on, Nathan. We're going to get into that. Sorry, mate. Yeah, this poll, the Groundhog Day, just keeps on coming round and round and round and round and round and round.
So the last couple of years, when we get one as big as this, it's been a business for Scotland. This time round, it was done by the polling company Find Out Now on behalf of the national newspaper. And the headline in the paper at the time was 56% for yes and 41% for no. 44% for no when don't knows are removed. When the don't knows are in there, it's 52% yes and 41% no, giving yes a double-digit lead for the very first time, David.
No.
That could be something that's a wee bit different.
No, the numbers got wrong there. Read it again. Yeah, you're the right there. The last time we talked about it, it's 56% yes. Right, and 45. 45.
No, 40, 44.
55, 44. 55,
44. It's the other way round. It's when you get the don't knows added in, it's 52-41.
I looked at it another way and thought, is there some other way maybe I could change the don't knows, because you're left with 3 and 4%, aren't you? Right. So is what you go 4 and 3%, make it 55-45.
Aye.
That's 10. That gives you 10, right?
Aye. Well, their figures in the national was 11.
It's a direct reversal of the 2014. Because the same question as 2014 was asked.
Aye.
Should Scotland...
They were asked, that was the question. If it was the same question for the last time, do you think Scotland should be an independent country, yes or no? And as I say, when they did the headline figure, it was actually a 12% swing for yes. You know?
Well, the actual the poll that I must admit I really enjoyed reading was the one where it came up with 60%, which was make Scotland independent and also a republic at the same time. And people would vote 60% yes if made it an independent republic.
I also seen the hypothetical, David, when it comes to offering people independence in a wellbeing society. That was also 60%. Afternoon, everyone. Hope you're well. Looks like I'm going straight to the naughty step. For a tenner, you can get a free pass. Right, Duncan. Thank you. Good afternoon. Glad you're back together. was at Gap Naval Hospital yesterday. Doctor was happy on how Operation Recovery has went. Very pleased to hear that, Duncan.
Very good. Yeah. Duncan, he rushed across my house, and it's like I said, "No tongues. Don't give me tongues, right?"
I was confused. There's no use. Drive to my house to your house. Hey, David, I'm no daft. I give you 2 days to calm down.
Face on it. Let me face on it.
Don't you start.
Hey,
Anyway, David.
Gender recognition. You identify as a wardrobe. I identify as a kitchen sink. There you go. As well. There you go.
Thomas, don't get excited about this poll. This is the annual outlier. We'll wait and see if it continues to be that way.
Yeah.
The last time we had a poll like this, the four-way poll had 49 yes, 51 no. And John Curtis has also said, let's see what the rest of the polling companies are going to say if they're polling. Because at this point in time, it's no a monthly poll anyway the way it was.
Also, you have to look at such organisations like Scotland in Union, right?
Aye.
And they produce a poll, and it's exactly the opposite way, right? The person that pays the piper calls the tune when it comes to polls, right?
Yep.
The phone company can say to you, "Who do you want us to contact? Is it one ABC or the different echelons of people throughout the country, right?" If you imagine people at the bottom will tend to vote more for independence than people at the very top, right? Also, you might have a situation where, like that Scotland Union, where they were talking about, they said that people in Scotland prefer having the Royal Navy there with the nuclear subs at Fastlane, right? And you think, who did they ask? Everybody in Fastlane. Aye, right, fair enough. There you go.
With bet just for that comment, you're on the naughty step. And Thomas, that hasn't changed in about 10 years. The 16 to 26-year-olds all say they want it on the high 60s and 70s. And you know what? The fuckers don't get off their PlayStations to go and vote.
Right. In actual fact, during the 2014 referendum, the section of the population that let us down the most were the ones that were making the most noise in the run up to the referendum.
Aye.
It was your 16 to 26-year-old.
That's right, and they blamed it on the pensioners, but when the figures actually broke out and broke down, it turned out young voters didn't get out to vote.
Pensioners go out and vote.
Yep.
Simple as that. They vote because they know. It's the young ones that go, it's kind of cold out there. I don't even bother. If I don't vote, it will make a difference. All my mates will vote.
Thank you, even when the weather's good, she does catch up later. Good, because all the numbers couldn't. The viewing figures help the algorithm as well. Right, David, let's move on to the outlier. Let's hope this isn't an outlier. Let's hope this is a move forward.
Well, okay.
But it's up to people to commission polls. If we don't get polls commissioned, then we won't get these numbers.
What's more effective is we're coming up to the first sort of walks for all under one banner, aren't we? Yeah. How's about? I don't like walks. I'm not a great defender of walks.
That's a bit defeatist, Thomas. Come on.
They will vote. Yeah. Okay. But I think that it would be good if we really made the first walk in Glasgow for all under one banner the same as we had previous to the pandemic. If you remember that, we had 120 odd thousand people out in the streets of Glasgow.
Aye, we remember
that was absolutely fantastic.
Aye, well, we'll see what happens in May 3rd, will we?
Yeah, good weather. Lovely day to be out with the family. Nice wee walk through Glasgow. End up there's various things happening at Glasgow Green. Wonderful, great. If you know anything at Glasgow Green, then you go and you enjoy Glasgow. Get to a pub or whatever, right? Start planning.
Well, my plans are made. I'll be there.
Not just everybody that's here. Talk to your friends.
Aye.
Come on, we'll go. We'll do it. We'll do it for. Do you want independence for this country? Yes. Right. Well, come on. We need to show the SNP that we need to move forward.
We need big numbers, that's for sure. Right, let's move on. Anna Sarwar denies that the Labour Party are going through their own a branch form, or branch floor, whatever it was called, as two Glasgow city councillors are charged with offences. And as we know, we've got the guy Graham Moore in Fife who's been charged with diddling the rain.
What, they ended up with a forensic tent about the front of the houses, did they?
But anyway,
is it?
Councillor Frank Macabiti has been charged with the crime of electoral fraud.
Yeah.
As he claimed he was living in Glasgow to run as a Glasgow councillor, and they found out he was actually living in Paisley.
Yeah.
So he's been done. And the other one, who's the best friend, I was talking with David Russell, the candidate for Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehouse, his best friend, that's Frank Macabiti. Now, the other one that's been charged is former Lord Provost Philip Bratt, who has been charged with stalking his previous partner by putting up rude remarks on her front door and hanging a banner in her tenement building calling her all sorts.
What age was he when he was doing this?
Well, he was charged in December, so it's recent. I don't know how old the councillor is, David. I don't. I just know that he's been charged with stalking because it's in the papers.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
As I say, now Anna Sarwar claims both of these councillors have been suspended from the Labour Party.
Yeah.
But Councillor Susan Aitken, the head of Glasgow Council, denies it. Says, no, that's not true, because Philip Bratt is still sending apologies for no making meetings. So if he's sending in apologies for no making meetings, then he's not been suspended. So she's wrote to Anna Sarwar looking for clarity. But the other one, Frank Macabiti, his best pal's the guy that's running for Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehaven. They're all, as I say, he's a placeman.
Liber. Liebor. Liber.
Now, the other thing is, of course, David Graham, I think the councillor Fife's name is, he's recently appeared in court for grooming a 14-year-old lassie through the age of 15. This took place in 2022-2023. And he's already... Sorry?
That's a Wayne. That's a child.
Right, well, he's already appeared in court, pled not guilty, and we're just waiting for the trial date being announced for him. You know, so it would appear there is some, and as we know, Cammy Dealang there in Edinburgh has just been cleared of harassing Ukrainian citizens on a gay dating app.
That's a different matter, because you've got to have two sides of it. You know what I mean? Whereas if somebody's going after a kid, oh my goodness me! I hope it's not right. I hope he's innocent, but it's ridiculous. It really is if it's true.
Right, thanks, Roddy. He sent us in a super sticker, David. And it's a baby lemon jumping in lemon character arms to hug him.
Thanks, Roddy.
So it's a baby lemon jumping into a bigger lemon's arms apparently to hug them. Thanks, Roddy. So it would appear that there's a fair bit of corruption in the Labour Party as usual.
Yes.
You know, But that one at Fife, that's about as low as it goes, actually. In fact, I have a fair bit of information on that one, David, which I can't disclose because it was sent to me by a viewer. I've got private messages full of details of this bloody case. What's wrong with clitoris? All sorts. I think we're not going there, Lucian. Right, let's move on. First Minister John Swinney is taking a columnist role in the Daily Rancid, David.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Well, okay. We discussed this programme. You said it was to get a hold of the knuckle draggers, I think, as you described them.
Well, what I said was it'll give them an opportunity to make contact with unions, not knuckle draggers, because that's their paper.
So, what do you think is going to happen when the page 3? All right, look at that, that's good, that right. And then they come across this letter from John Swinney. What the fuck's that, right? There's Rangers back.
Well, there's no page 3 anymore, David.
Well,
page 2 and 3 are now politics, believe it or not, in most rags. But most people buy the Daily Rancid and the Scum in order to look at the football.
Right. Yeah.
It's the only thing in it. There's celebrity magazines these
So, in
days.
other words, what you're going to see is that there's going to be very, very little effect, right? Simple as that, right? Now, you might look at it from the point of view of John Swinney is not mentioning independence. Fine, okay, unless he's asked. I would say to him, right, if you're going to write for the Daily Record, how's about you put a nice long article on independence for Scotland, right? Put your money where your mouth is, as First Minister of Scotland, and let's have a nice long article on independence from the First Minister.
Aye. Now, Graham, I missed your super chat this morning. I apologise for that. The score for SNP hasn't moved in the year, you're right, as far as it goes, with 34% of the polls. And the margin of error in most polls, 3 to 4%, correct? Yeah. Depending on the polling company, some it's 3%, some it's 4%. Okay, but sorry about missing your super chat this morning. It's just moving too fast for me to see them all. It's a wee bit easier when there's the two of you on, because David can watch your comments and I can watch your comments.
My goodness, there's a first. Chris Fisher, on at this time. Chris, you're usually the first in the blooming door. Every time.
Well, mine must have jumped today. Well, of course, we have seen SNP leaders take to the Red Talks before. Nicola and Alec both did articles in the Scum.
Yes. And
I believe Nicola also did articles in the Record.
Yeah.
So this isn't an unusual move.
It isn't an unusual move. However, it is a move where John Swinney could do himself a lot of favours by writing the right article. Instead of writing about poverty that you can't fix yet until the country is independent.
True.
Right? So, in actual fact, if you go through growth, you can't really write on growth because, in actual fact, we're all being held back. Pullovers being grabbed by everybody. Trump's pulling a bit, and Keir Starmer's pulling a bit, and Rachel Reid is pulling a bit, and we're all being held back, right? So we can't write about growth. What about independence?
Stephen, you're telling us that 1984, George Orwell taking off library shelves. I haven't seen anything about that, Stephen. I would need to see some confirmation.
Stephen, I would actually have to have a look at that one.
I mean,
yeah.
But what we do know is that there is a move to remove stuff that might give people the idea that the government's playing by somebody else's playbook.
Okay. Trivial pursuit question. When was George Orwell's 1984 written?
Don't know.
Answer, 1948.
There you go. Hey, so John's going to be writing in the Rancid. No doubt he'll use it to address everything except for maybe independence. depending on the audience's point. All right, and we know the audience's point that reads their answers are mainly unionists, because that's why their answer circulation fell right off the edge of a cliff on the run up to 2014, never mind after 2014. And Margaret Mackay confirms that you're correct when George Orwell wrote 1984. Well, of course, we know he was projecting into the future. He was only about 20 years out, David. That's not bad. Sorry, we got more than 20 years out, 40 odd years out. Still not bad. Right, let's move on then. The gender ruling, or the Supreme Court's ruling on the 2010 Equalities Act definition of sex.
I'll just get myself comfy.
Aye, please. No, actually, I want your take on it. I've had my fucking take on it. Right?
Oh dear. I read the bit where it was the output to the newspapers and the mainstream media and all that, right?
You mean the 88-page submission?
Fuck's sake, man! I've never.
In 88
I was falling asleep. I was after, and what I did was I thought after I'd finished reading it, I thought, right, I'm gonna write a post of this, tongue in cheek, but I'm gonna write a post about it, right? And I wrote a post called "Sex, Religion, Politics," right? And it started off where effectively I was doing the sound engineering, the acoustic design for Suddenly Stable Light. I was getting really, really tired with the mathematics I was doing, right? And it was a case of I need to get away for a long weekend just to get maths in my head. So I went to Dublin. We ended up with juries at Ball's Bridge, a great big hotel. But it was a taxi drive all the way into the centre of Dublin. However, the taxi driver always, in every situation, would give you sex, religion, politics in that order before you got to the end of your taxi journey. Absolutely amazing people, right? Okay, so I thought, what would taxi drivers in Dublin make of this new finding by the Supreme Court? It's like, would they start saying, well, are we going to need to keep everybody happy? Are we going to need to, just in terms of toilets, forget everything else, because there are other parts of it, right? We're going to have a men's toilet, a ladies' toilet, a disabled toilet, a transgender toilet for men transitioned to women, and we're going to have one a women's toilet where men women are transitioned to men. I'm getting mixed up. So you end up with all these toilets, right?
So in the disabled toilet, you get 6.
Yeah, and it's like, my goodness me. Practically, that's impractical. But the taxi drivers in Dublin would show that one up. They would make fun of it. They would go, imagine a pub where you've got all those toilets. You wouldn't have a room for a pub. It would just have a toilet. Think about it. So this isn't over, not by a long shot, because when it comes to it, the people that are going to make the most noise about it are going to be your big pub owners and all the rest of it, right? That are going to go, oh, we can't do this. I'd have to get new premises in order to have this amount of toilets to make it all work, right?
I hope they can't have rooms, David.
No, there are people that are affected by this deeply, and they have got my heartfelt sympathy. Every single, we're talking about people that are transgender, but also people that are maybe hate the idea of being in the same space as a man that's transitioning to a woman. You've all got my heartfelt sympathy on that, right? There's got to be a way whereby we can come up with a solution for this that works. And also we've got the situation inside, we went to unisex toilets, you've also got a situation of where security is a problem. I am sure it's not beyond the wit of man or woman to come up with a sensible solution. It can be done.
David, we know the solution. You do exactly what it's said there in the comments. We put in gender neutral toilets.
No, but also, men tend to be dirtier than women. However, there's a good point to be made in that men that are in the company of women, whether it be out in the dance floor or in the toilet, they tend to be cleaner because that's positive. So therefore, the idea is let's get rid of the urinals. The urinals are a waste of time and they're dirty. If urine showed up glowing green when you went under UV lights, you can imagine at nightclubs men would change their behaviour pretty damn quick, wouldn't they?
Yes, just a housewife has said, ever heard of unisex toilets? Yes. As I say, I've already suggested, David and I know the solution to this, is to build, get rid of urinals, floor to ceiling cubicles, which are completely closed in once you enter them.
Yeah.
And hope the men have got the decency to fucking sit down when they're in the toilet.
Well, as far as that's concerned, there's ways where you can engineer that. You can actually make it whereby if they get any liquid on the toilet seat, it sounds a large alarm. Something like that. My goodness me! And it's that then would be dealt with by the management of the place, right? Simple as that.
Well, normally, like if you take the building Sarah works in, there's cleaners there constantly dealing with that sort of thing.
Yes, but the thing is there's ways where you can deal with that electronically. Dead simple. Well, you sit down and it ends up where you get water, any kind of liquid getting poured in that to enough extent. I mean, obviously, if somebody's sweaty,
you go to the real extent of it, David. Remember the self-cleaning toilets we used to have in the towns? You put the 10 pence the slot, went in, shut the door. When you go out, it's shut and it disinfected itself.
And they work.
Well, they did work, except for every now and again the door would open while you sat there. That's why you took them away again.
And a lot more than just for putting in.
Yeah,
it's a lot more than that.
Understood. So therefore,
making it like that doesn't work. A women's toilet is a lot more.
This is my Madam Director, right? She's always right.
Obviously, there's other things that are affected by this rule, David. There's women and transgender people in sport.
Yeah, it's a freedom issue. I think that everyone is entitled to the freedoms to do all these things, right? Women should be free to have what they want, but there comes a point when it all rubs together, right? And just what my wife is saying there, women treat the toilets as somewhere not just to go and pour away. It's where they chat to each other. Oh, he's nice. You think I should go out? Yeah, he's asked me to go out with him. And that's the sort of thing. But we need to change people's hearts and minds on this.
Oh, I need to change their attitudes, of course. But I mean, we know it works. I mean, if you look at Pacific Key, the BBC, the place we want to shove into the Clyde, it was specifically built with gender toilets. They want to shove it into the Clyde, don't they?
You drew that picture of the wee guys pushing away at the BBC Pacific Key.
Into the Clyde, but there are other things that are going to be affected by it, David. Serious stuff with the Public Bodies Act Scotland 2018 is going to have to be rewritten, and I would imagine there's going to be a fair bit of pressure from the transgender and non-binary community to have the Equalities Act rewritten, because you can't have an Equalities Act that doesn't give equality to everybody.
Yes.
But talking about that, let's see what Lord Hodge had to say for himself, because he took that 88 pages there now that were mind blown away reading and put it into a 50-second summary.
I gotta get comfy, right?
Hey, and then he put it into a 50-second summary. I thought that was brilliant. Hey, I've just spent hours reading the 88-page summary, and then this spanner video comes up on the BBC.
The unanimous decision of this court is that the terms woman and sex in the Equality Act 2010 refer to a biological woman and biological sex. but we counsel against reading this judgment as a triumph of one or more groups in our society at the expense of another. It is not. As I shall explain later in this hand-down speech, the Equality Act 2010 gives transgender people protection not only against discrimination through the protected characteristic of gender reassignment, but also against direct discrimination, indirect discrimination, and harassment in substance in their acquired gender.
So there you go. 88 pages in 50 seconds.
Well, did he say something, did he?
So 88 pages, David, in 50 seconds. What he's saying is the 2010 Equalities Act gives up protections under other sections of the Act. And the particular section refers back to the 2004 Gender Recognition Act.
But I mean, right, if you actually read down the 88 pages, right?
Right.
Let's mention one point where the transgender person has, and this is before the Supreme Court thing, had the ability to get a certificate that said that they were transgender and they identify as a woman, say,
Yep.
right? But it says in that summation that there were situations whereby it could be overridden.
That's right.
And to my way of thinking, well, what's the point of having a certificate? That's pointless.
Well,
If it's
the reason why the safety clauses were put under the 2004 Gender Recognition Act, just it was in case some pervert was playing up, got themselves a certificate and was using it for sexual deviancy.
But in that situation, don't you think the police would be called?
Yes, of course they would.
Right, so...
But that's what gives them the ability to revoke the gender recognition certificate.
But, okay, it's almost like citizens arrest thing. Right, you're playing up, Mrs. We're going to arrest you. No, you don't do that.
Anyway, David, how many people does this affect in Scotland? Do you know?
No, go on.
20,000. 20,000. How many people does this affect UK-wide?
I have no idea. Go on.
500,000.
Right. Okay.
So we're looking at, a fair chunk of the population whose rights and protections have been diminished by this judgment.
So it's a Falkirk football stadium in Scotland? Falkirk?
No, it's bigger than Falkirk. Aberdeen.
Aberdeen. Okay, Aberdeen. Right.
And it's 2 times. There's 2 times Ibrox. It's 10 times Ibrox for the rest of the boys.
It's about 3 times Chelsea.
Well, as I say, 480,000 are UK and 20,000 here in Scotland will be affected by this ruling.
Yeah, 4 times.
That's a fair amount of the population who don't have the same rights as they had the day before yesterday.
Yeah.
And the other thing is with the Public Bodies Act and the way this rulings came down, there is now a section of our society who work in the public services who might not be able to make it onto board level because of the way the 2012 Public Bodies Act was written, and then the way it was rewritten in 2018 to accommodate transgender people, where a transgender woman could take up a woman's slot in a board of their public body, and a transgender man could take up a man's spot on a public body. That's out the window now, because what people have to remember is what this fight came out of. And this fight came out of the 2018 Public Bodies Scotland Act, where it was championed by Maggie Chapman, I think it was, of the Greens, to accommodate transgender people on public boards. Because
so anyway,
right there.
To summarise, on the Two Davies side, is that this is what you get when the Supreme Court get involved in something. At the stroke of a pen, they ruin somebody's life.
Yes.
Right? Just the same as when they're asked about Scotland the last time, they, at a stroke of a pen, we never got any more referendums.
Well, actually, to be honest, David, in both cases, the judges are actually only giving judgment on an act. They're not actually giving a personal opinion.
For
Like
example,
if we see the papers this morning,
as far as I'm concerned, they caused us damage.
yes. And once again, we're going to have to rewrite a bill because of these people.
Yeah.
That'll be the third one.
Yeah.
Where they've interfered with our law.
Yeah.
But as that Supreme Court was only brought into being to ensure that European law was correctly interpreted into English law, Scottish law, and Irish law.
Yeah.
We're out of Europe. The fucking thing shouldn't have a say in anything now.
Yeah.
We should be reverting back to the old system where the highest court in Scotland was the highest court in Scotland, the highest court in England was the highest court in England, and the highest court in the whole bloody place was the Lords.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Supreme Court should have been disbanded once we were out of Europe.
Yeah. Supreme Court was the brainchild of Blair. Blair of the Labour Party.
Aye, or criminal. The guy who. But the reason it came into being was because these laws had to be translated into the vault settlements.
Yeah.
And that's why the Supreme Court came into being. Well, guess what? The laws have all been incorporated into the vault settlements, and we don't need the Supreme Court to extract them, because we just tell Westminster to get it fuck, we'll not take them out.
Yeah.
You know, which we've already done actually. It proves that we are a colony over are we a colony? No, in the eyes of the United Nations. Are we an actual colony? Yes.
Yes.
In the eyes of the United Nations, we are in a union, and it's voluntary. So we get right down to it, David. There's a huge swathe of the population, 500,000 UK wide, if you like, who are going to be affected, and I would imagine at some point with pressure to the non-binary and the trans groups, the 2010 Equalities Act will be rewritten.
Yeah.
We get into the newspapers today who are all claiming Supreme Court definition of a woman is biological. That's not.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court is the 2010 Equalities Act definition of a woman, not the Supreme Court's definition of a woman.
But you've also got to understand that the group that brought this to the Supreme Court were 4 women of Scotland, I think it was limited.
4 women of Scotland.
And they're a feminist. I'm not against feminists. Oh my goodness me! Right, stop right there. I'm not against that feminist, but they're a feminist group, and they don't speak for every woman in the country.
Don't speak for very many. I'm in my audience this morning actually. I had one comment saying how insecure in your sexuality are these women.
Yeah.
You know, so it doesn't come right across the board.
I still say there are things that women should fight for, and I agree we should continue to fight for. But I find that this one is, I think we need to first consider live and not live. Allow people to live their lives. And the moment you take issue with somebody because they're doing X, Y, Z, transgender, then it's very difficult for the person that may suffer badly under other circumstances. And this morning, when I was thinking about this, I was thinking there may be, and I hope there isn't, but there may be suicides over this.
Aye, there will be.
It's dreadful. It really is.
Now, before we move on, I need to get a wee bit of information up. Because I don't want to get these names wrong.
Question? What are you doing?
I am bringing up the name of the 2 NGOs that have asked for an arrest warrant.
Oh, yes.
For the Israeli Foreign Minister, or who is in the UK at the moment, supposedly on a private visit.
But
So-
David Lammy, you see, staying at David Lammy's gaff, they both get drunk, you know, that's it.
No,
Agreed.
I believe he is in the. I believe he's in the. He's hiding out in the Israeli embassy.
He is not particularly having a private tour. Let's go and look at such and such, right? Okay, let's have a tour of Buckingham Palace. No, what he's doing is it's a political visit, something like that he's calling something else.
Aye. Right, HRF is one of the NGOs that have applied, and the Hind Rajab Foundation is the other ones that have applied to a British court for an arrest warrant for the Israeli Foreign Minister, Gideon Saar, who is in the UK. He arrived in secrecy on Tuesday, but apparently these groups had the heads up he's coming. And on Tuesday, even though he's supposed to go on a private visit,
You put it back. Thank you.
Too bright.
It's fine.
anyway,
Adam director's going round beating the place in darkness. Right, sorry.
right. So, as I say, the Israeli Foreign Minister, Gideon Saar, is in the UK at the moment.
Yeah.
And there's these two NGOs have applied to the Supreme Court for an arrest warrant for this guy. Now, apparently he's here as a private citizen. Well, the interesting thing about it is, David, when I was looking at this, I found out that the Conservative Party in 2011 changed the law here in the UK so that no Israeli citizen or Israeli official coming here on an official visit can be arrested for any crimes that have been committed against anybody.
Possibly discussing Labour for Israel again.
No, prior to that, it was 2011, the Tories changed the law to give Israeli ministers and Israeli representatives immunity from arrest in the UK.
I still look at it. And go, the Zionist part of the Israel, right, have been guilty of you've given paper envelopes all across the world to get their way. And as far as that's concerned, I don't mind making the allegation allegedly, right? But at the same time, it's like I look at this and I go, why would another country have power over our legislature to legislate in favour of them? You think about that. That's impossible.
Well, they did it. And yes, I know that once we're independent, it'll only be Scots law and they won't be striking down our laws.
Yeah, okay.
It's just a comment, David. We'll go to address them sometimes and all. But this idea that foreign officials officials from Israel are exempt from arrest when on official visits to the UK. Was that not what diplomatic immunity is anyway, David?
Yeah, it's diplomatic immunity. If somebody is a proper diplomat, right, serving diplomatic duties while in a country, they should be considered that they are on official business, so therefore they have diplomatic immunity in order to carry out that business.
Anyway, on this private visit, apparently he cannot walk the streets of London because of the fear of arrest or attack, and he's holed up in the Israeli embassy.
Israeli embassy, that's Israeli territory, unlike Palestine, right? Palestine's not Israeli territory, contrary to popular belief. It's still Palestine. It's Israelis that have come in, taken over, right? So, but the Israeli embassy is Israeli land, and therefore he cannot be arrested in there.
Well, as Israel doesn't technically have a land, surely it's Palestinian territory.
Well, I think it's part of the screwed up world that we live in now. Somebody's
that. That is. Now, anyway, do you think these two NGOs will be successful in getting an arrest warrant issued for this man while he's here on a private visit?
Depends what judge they go in front of.
Good answer, David. Good answer. because I don't know the answer to that one either. Right. What good time? Oh, only 10 minutes left. Where we go? Rubio is in Paris. At the moment, trying to get some agreement with Europeans on the way forward for Ukraine and Russia situation. Now, that's a change of strategy, is it? No, because they want to talk to anybody. They were taking the lead and fuck everybody.
Yeah, I just stand back, let the big boys sort it out between us and Putin, and
Yep.
you guys just sit back and we'll sort it, and we'll tell you what's been organised at the end of it all, right? Piss off.
It didn't work, did it? No, they're saying, what do we do? What do we do? So it turns out the big boys in the room are no big boys in the room at all. Trump's a fucking idiot. He was an idiot before he started going senile, but he's even more an idiot now. And Putin's no interested in what Trump's going to say.
Yes, correct. And the nice thing about it is that it has actually done something for Europe. It's made Europe realise America are not friends.
Yes.
They might not particularly be enemies, but they're nothing, right? And if you want security in Europe, the people in Europe are going to have to provide it for themselves.
Yes.
Simple as that. So I might not be with Macron all the time, but in this one, I like the idea. I like the cut of his jib, let's say.
Aye.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Starmer's getting to Wally Wave and look a bit good in the international stage and all, you know.
Yeah.
Although I don't see him being that good in the international stage, but apparently he's been respected on the international stage. So what can I say?
Okay.
I mean, the UK has no soft power, so Starmer's just there as a stuffed fucking shut. You know what I mean?
Go to school and get a headmaster to do it. I'll do it. It's exactly the same as what Starmer would do. Seriously.
Right now, last and not least, as we head off into the last couple of minutes of the show, David, potential summer of discontent as trade unions say they could call out others in solidarity with the Birmingham Finmen, and of course, teachers in England are threatening to go on strike as well.
Now, we might look at this as being an England-only problem, right? But unions spread across borders.
That's correct.
And what happens is that we'll have the teachers. Well, the teachers have to wait, as David said, they have to wait until the school holiday's over, right? Because the kids will be going, we're away anyway, so you know. But effectively, when they go on strike, the unions in Scotland will be champing at the bit to go on strike as well. Well, they want war, so we want war.
Well, David, we know that under the last administration, the Conservative administration, we were all screaming at trade unions, call a general strike, call a general strike. Did they call a general strike? No. You think they're going to do it for libel?
No.
No, I don't think so either. Will there be a summer of discontent?
Pass.
Pass. Especially Starmer's got control of the Trade Union Congress.
Yeah. I mean, in actual fact, if the unions wanted to, they could stop providing any money to the Labour Party.
A lot of them are already in the process. A lot of them have already done that, and a lot better than the process. I'm
talking about all of them.
Yes, we do need them all.
From all union support, right? Immediately, you wouldn't believe the amount of effect that would have on the Labour Party. Rees would have to come out of her office and go, they're doing what? Oh, we can't handle that, right? And that's the point. She would be forced to change. The unions could say, recognise Palestine as a sovereign country, and Starmer would have to do it.
I don't think the unions got much influence anymore, David, because Starmer says the way that the Labour Party is financed.
If they all pulled the finances from Labour Party, then effectively that would be it.
And he wake up and smell the rose and he says teachers in Scotland won't strike as paying conditions are much better here.
Yeah, agree.
Right?
Yeah. And they've got a nicer class of people as well. The brighter.
Only 21 likes. There must be something no right there. Come on. Hit the like button. People, it helps the algorithm. Costs you nothing. It's one of the freebies. It's there for me. For Davey and I, it always makes us feel all warm and fuzzy inside. How are you, pal? I hope you're no late. I don't have much room left in the naughty step today. So it's been an interesting few days since the last time we spoke, David.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Well, one of these programs.
All right. Don't dwell about, please. Right. So.
David, they must. I know they don't see it, but they really don't understand. When you and I get into it, we get into it big style. Dummies do the pram go everywhere, man.
The fact of it happening here when we're doing a show is like, no, don't do that. Gonna no do that. Like, seriously, right? And we did that, and it was wrong.
I know.
I'm really sorry if I made any of you feel uncomfortable because of that.
I just did the professional thing and stormed right through, David.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But as I say, folks, you really have to understand that that's no unusual for David and I. We've been friends for a long time. We get really passionate about subjects, and as I say, phones get hung up, dummies get thrown out prams all the time.
The most important thing is we'll remain friends.
Of course, aye.
This guy saved my fucking life.
Well, he'd have done the same.
No, I'm telling you straight. He saved my life. I wouldn't be here to do this if it wasn't for him. Right?
But you'd have done the same for me, so it's fine. It's no biggie. All right. Where are we? 57. So, folks, as we round this one up, there's a couple of things. We need to thank you all for your kind donations today. It's almost covered what we gave out as an emergency payment today. Thank you very much. And the other thing I will hit the figures before we get the payout on the 21st, and we get the money in the bank the 26th, and then we'll start all over again. We did North Lanarkshire last time. We did Clackmannanshire the time before that. I think we're coming into Glasgow this time, David.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, certainly across this side, I do know that some of the food banks here will require a bit of help, especially Drumchapel.
I'll try and target the three big housing estates: Drumchapel, Castlemilk, and Easterhouse.
Yeah.
I'll try and hit the three this time. We've just done Paul earlier in the southwest, with the emergency aid that we'll just get them.
Yeah.
So, folks, I say really thank you today. Things are getting really bad out there. Your contributions today are absolutely just a bit. I mean, you've covered the emergency payment I had to rush out and make to the southwest, Glasgow Southwest Food Bank today.
What is worrying is why someone should target a food bank.
Oh, aye. Why would somebody break into a food bank? Desperation, David. Desperation.
Crazy.
I mean, you've got to be really desperate to break into a food bank, David. The reason you target a food bank is because...
Yeah, they're independent, so it's not as if you cannot get food off them if you find yourself in dire straits. So they must have been after something else. Maybe somebody kept a laptop at the branch or whatever, right? So it must have been for something like that. And what they've done is also they have taken food.
Nice.
It's crazy. It really is.
The other thing is, if you're going to break it, it's easier to break into a food bank than it is a supermarket.
Also, the damage. It's not just the break-in. The break-in we can manage to deal with. If enough people would get together and go, here, there's money, there's food and all the rest of it, right? You get by that. But it's the damage. It's the damage that needs exposed in order to do that,
Yes, I appreciate that, David. But things are getting dire, folks. And we also know that as the year goes on and things get worse, contributions will probably dry up a wee bit as well, David, because people have less to give. And
You know what? Excuse me, absolutely magnificent. I mean, really magnificent in what they've done, right? But we realise, it's common sense, we realise as things get tighter, you're going to go, well, I can't quite afford to do that. And that's understandable.
Yep. Yep. And as Stephen says here, the poor robbing the poor is desperation brought on by poverty. How's that working out? Not well, Stephen. And thanks for giving me that. And folks, I didn't say who it was that gave me the heads up, but it was a mod there.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to say it. Time for independence. It's a wish.
David.
It's a wish.
Everybody, well, you can almost assert, you can definitely assert like 56% and one it now, for at least 1 month.
It's a wish list, but at the same time, the only way you're going to get it is by coming together and actually creating the impetus. So I mentioned about the on the one banner walk. I can't do it because I'm legless, right? However, you lot can. Get on it. Do it.
Rachel, just in the nick of time, Rachel. Teams up, everybody. You're just coughing up some late fees on that Supreme Court decision. I'm wondering how it affects AI like me. Rachel for accounts is artificial intelligence. I don't know if to credit you with that, Rachel, because I don't know many AI software programs that have a bank account that can transfer money to us.
Artificial intelligences will have that in the future. Don't worry about that.
That's right.
But in case of Rachel from accounts, I would call it artificial unintelligence.
No, this one's a good one. This
Cone's
a good one.
Good guy. Good go on.
And thanks. I take it, Rachel, you managed to get a new kettle on expenses because apparently Aki stole your last one. Right, Dave, that's 2 minutes after 5. So
yep.
Thanks, folks, for your contributions. Hit the like button. If you haven't hit, please hit the subscribe button. And I'll be back to do it all on Monday.
Right.
And I will be back tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. for the final roundup of the newspaper front pages of the week. And Reagan, I'll probably catch you tonight if you said you were on, and I'll definitely see you tomorrow morning. Because you day and 8 o'clock on a Friday morning, don't you? I'll see you then, young fella, if I miss you tonight, because I'm not getting notifications at this point in time. Okay.
Right.
David, if you haven't seen Reagan O'Week's channel, give it a wee look.
I will do.
It covers a lot of international subjects and all, including the wars that are going around the world and things like that. It's really good. It is. And the same goes for the rest of you folks. Give young Reagan O'Week's channel a look. It's really great.
At the moment, the one I'm after, I'm looking at is what's his name? The Rants.
Oh, Demo.
Yeah, Demo. That's it. Demo's Rants.
Demo Rants.
He's very good. He makes a few nice points at times.
Oh, he's on top of his brief, that's for sure. You know, he is on top of his brief.
Let's be honest about it, guys. If we watched everybody that we were told, oh, look at this one, look at that one, you wouldn't have time to have a life. In actual fact, a lot of times, he that way, he doesn't have a life.
You've been plowed through. And everybody needs a hobby. Mine is reading legislation. All right. Right, I'm going to take this nut job off the air. I get my boots on and get to work. Listen, here's a wee violin pump.